Hi and welcome to the Crochet Circle. My name is Alex and in today's video I want to show you how to crochet a letter V. So as you know perhaps from before, I'm just gonna sketch it out and explain in how many parts the letter V will be done. So letter V will be done in two parts. The first part will be the base of chain 8, then with some extensions on the left and on the right side, and then I'm gonna continue on the left arm up, and part 2 will be the right arm up. And I think I can begin. I'm gonna leave this here in the corner just for you to see. I still have a little bit of my scrap yarn, and I hope it's gonna be enough, because I don't know if you saw it, but well, I'm gonna explain it a bit later. I'm just gonna first now begin with the letter V. So I need to do chain 8 in the beginning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now I'm gonna do one chain just to go up into the next row, and in the second chain from the hook I'm gonna do a single crochet. So 8 chains means 8 single crochets in the first row. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. 8 will be done in a second when I finish this last single crochet. Okay, so row number 1 is done. Now I need to do 3 rows of increases on the left and on the right side. So I'm gonna do a chain 1, again just to go up into the next row. Now the first stitch is an increase. That means I'm gonna do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. In between I'm gonna do single crochets, and the last stitch is again gonna be an increase. That means I'm gonna do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now the last stitch is an increase. I'm gonna do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stitches. Now next row is again an increase in the beginning, an increase at the end, and in between single crochets. Now the last stitch is an increase, meaning I'm gonna do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Chain 1 to go up into the next row. Now this is gonna be the last row like this, so I'm gonna do an increase in the beginning, single crochets in the middle, and an increase at the end. And an increase at the end, so that means 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now row number 1, 2, 3, 5 is actually gonna be just single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Perfect, I'm still on track with all the stitches. Now the next row is an increase in the beginning and an increase at the end, and in between 12 single crochets. Now the last stitch is an increase. Now the next row is just 16 single crochets. Just do a single crochet in each stitch of the previous row. I'm just gonna double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So now the next row is actually gonna be the beginning of the left leg, arm, the leg, the part that goes up. So I'm gonna do a a chain 1, then I'm gonna do an increase, 5 single crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease. For a decrease, from the first stitch I'm taking only the front loop, and from the second stitch I'm taking the both loops. And that's it. Now I have to do 3 rows of just single crochets, so it's gonna be 3 rows of 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So I was explaining before how I hope I will have enough of yarn. Well, I already said the same thing when I was doing the letter Z, because I don't know why, but I thought my letter Z was the last letter that I had to do, so it wasn't, as I found out later, and I still need to do the letter V, and I still need to do the letter Q. And after that, it's gonna be Q's off. That means it's gonna be really over with this crochet letter series for me. Okay, now I've done the 3 rows of single crochets. Now the next row is gonna be an increase in the beginning, 5 single crochets. That's 3, 4, 5, and a decrease at the end. Now again I need 3 rows of just 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now just 2 more rows of 8 single crochets. So yeah, I do feel a bit embarrassed about already stating that I finished all the letters while I haven't. and I only noticed it when I was posting on my webpage that there were actually some letters missing. I did have all the letters written down on a piece of paper, but I guess I must already line it out as if it's done, but it wasn't on my webpage, so that's why I knew I didn't do it yet. Okay, so those were the 3 single crochets. Now again I have to do an increase in the beginning, 5 single crochets, and a decrease at the end. 1 2 3 4 5, and a decrease at the end. And now I need to do 6 rows of 8 single crochets. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. And because I don't have a fancy row counter, I'm just gonna have a piece of paper here, and I'm gonna be doing my dots or my lines to count the rows. So now I'm on row number 2. Row number 3. Row number 4. Now I need 2 more rows, and I will remember that. So this is row number 5. And row number 6, and I'm just gonna double check if I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8 single crochet stitches. Now the next row is, first I'm gonna do a chain 1 to go up. Now the next row is, the first stitch is a decrease, 5 single crochets, and perhaps you've already guessed it, the last stitch is gonna be an increase, because I have to have always the count of 8 stitches. And now the last part of this is just 7 rows of 8 single crochets. So that's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. Row number 1. That's row number 2. I'm on row number 3 now. done. Row number 4. Now it's row number 5. And just 2 more rows to go, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and the last row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Chain 1, and I can cut the yarn. Now the first part of the letter V is done. Now all I need to do is the second one, so I'm gonna start. I have here 8 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm actually starting in the first stitch on the right side, slip stitch, chain 1, and the first stitch is an increase stitch. That means I'm gonna do 2 single crochets in the same stitch. I'm gonna be laying my starting yarn on top of my work, on top of the chains of the on top of the single crochets of the previous row. That means in the end I won't have to worry about hiding the tail in. So I've done the increase. Now I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single crochets, and the last stitch is a decrease. Now the number of rows and stitches is the same as on the left side, so now I need to do 3 rows of 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's row number 1. Row number 2 and the last one. Now I need to repeat all 4 rows, so that means first it's gonna be an increase, 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last stitch is gonna be a decrease. Now I need 3 rows of just 8 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yes, you can still hear my yarn rolling on the floor, on the ground, so I still didn't buy myself a nice yarn bowl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now this is the second row and now the third one. Now the next row is an increase in the beginning, 5 single crochets and a decrease. Now the next 6 rows are gonna be 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Again, I'm just gonna draw a line here. Now I'm on row number 3. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. I must not forget to draw the line, so I will keep the number of rows correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now I need 2 more rows, so this is row number 5. And this is row number 6, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now the next row is gonna be a decrease in the beginning. 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase at the end. And now the next 7 rows are gonna be just 8 single crochets. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Again, 1. 2, 3, 3, 4, now that's row number 6, and the last one, row number 7. Chain 1, and I can cut the yarn. So the first letter V is done. Now I need to make another one. I'm gonna leave it here. Hopefully it won't get way too much in the way. So again, I have to begin with chain of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Chain 1 and then do 8 single crochets. And this is number 8. Now I need 3 rows of increases in the beginning and increases at the end, and in the middle just single crochets. Now a row of just single crochets, 14 of them, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and one row of increases on the left and on the right side. In the beginning, the first stitch is an increase, then single crochets, and the last stitch is an increase. Now it's a row of just 16 single crochets. I'm at this part, so it's gonna be an increase, 5 single crochets, and a decrease. And now 3 rows of 8 single crochets. An increase in the beginning, 5 single crochets, and a decrease at the end. And now 3 rows of just 8 single crochets. Now that's row 1. Row 2. Row 3. Now the next row is going to be an increase in the beginning, 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease at the end. And now it's 6 rows of single crochets, 8 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Row number 2 is done. 3, 4, 5, and the last row. Now the first stitch is gonna be a decrease, 5 single crochets, and an increase. Now all I need to do is 7 rows of just 8 single crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Row number 1 is done. Row number 2. Row number 3. Row number 4. Five, that's row number 6 and the last row of part 1 of the second letter V. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Chain 1, and I can cut the yarn. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I go into the last stitch or the first stitch, or as long as it's on, it doesn't actually matter if you begin the second part from the left or from the right, because on the outer side it has to be increases, on the inner side it has to be the decreases, and all the rest it's the same. So the last stitch is a decrease. Now I need 3 rows of just 8 single crochets. Now I need to repeat the last 4 rows. So first it's gonna be an increase, 5 single crochets, and a decrease, and now 3 rows of just 8 single crochets. So that's row number 1. Row number 2. And row number 3. Now the next row is again an increase in the beginning, 5 single crochets, and a decrease at the end. And now I need to do 6 rows of just 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Row 1 is done, 5 more to go. That's row number 2 done. Row number 3. Row number 4, just 2 more rows. Row number 5 and row number 6. Now in this row the first stitch is a decrease, 5 single crochets, and an increase. And now 7 rows of just 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Row number 1 of 7 is done. Row number 2. Three, 4, five, just 2 more rows to go. And the last row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 single crochets, chain 1, and I can cut the yarn. I'm getting close. Actually, I have 2 of those, so it should be fine. But it's definitely not gonna be enough for the letter Q. So here are my 2 V's. I'm gonna stack them one on top of each other. So this one is gonna be the bottom one. Actually, no, this one's gonna be the bottom one. So all I have to do is take the loose end on the right side, so it should be facing up. And this one is the top one, and this one is already, all the loose ends are facing the right side. So I'm not gonna bother with putting all the loose ends in. I'm just gonna crochet those 2 letters, these 2 letters together, and when I'm gonna come to the loose ends, I'm just gonna work them in. So I'm gonna start in the top left corner, so not in the last stitch but one before last. I'm gonna do a slip stitch, a chain 1 and a single crochet. Now I'm at the corner stitch. Because it is the outer corner, I'm gonna do a single crochet, chain 1 and another single crochet in the same stitch. That's why I'm just kind of turning the corners. As you can see, here is an inner corner and this is a really tight one. So I'm gonna do here 3 slip stitches and then continue with single crochets. I have to do single crochets all the way to the bottom. I'm just aligning my work so I can see the holes of the lines or of the rows much easier, and it's easier for me to join them together. I hope you can see, but if I stretch it enough I can see a hole in the back, and this is where my crochet hook goes into then. I do a single crochet in each row. And have in mind, sometimes do check for the back side because you want to go through both V's to join them. I'm almost at the corner here. I hid the end tails in. I'm at the corner stitch. I'm gonna do a chain 1 and a single crochet in the same stitch. I'm in the last stitch here. Again, here I'm gonna do a chain 1 and a single crochet in the same stitch. Now I can continue with going up on the right side. I almost didn't go in this stitch through both of them, so always either feel or look that you go through both letters. Almost in the corner. This is now my corner stitch. I have to turn the corner, so that means I'm gonna do a chain 1 and a single crochet in the same stitch. Corner stitch. You see the loose ends? I'm gonna tuck them in, holding tight, chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch because I'm turning the corner. These loose ends, I'm just gonna hide inside so they won't be in the way. Plus, with the letter V, I have to step by step put the filling in, especially me because I'm using a 2.5mm hook and the letter is a bit smaller, but if you're using a larger crochet hook and a much thicker yarn appropriate for the crochet hook, it's gonna be much easier to fill the letter. I'm gonna do one more stitch. Now I'm gonna do 3 slip stitches, so slip stitch number 1, and what I'm actually gonna also do is I'm gonna fill this part up because it's kind of turning the corner as well here. So I've already done 1 slip stitch. Now I'm gonna do another one. And another one. As I already mentioned it, 3 slip stitches in this inner corner, and now I can continue with single crochets up. But before, I'm just gonna fill this bottom part up. Okay, and continuing with single crochets. Again, I have to fill it step by step as I go. Now this is my corner stitch. I'm already gonna do a chain 1. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hide these 2 loose ends in, and I also have to fill the rest of the letter V, because I just have to close this upper part. Okay, wrong crochet hook, this one is the right one, so my 2.5mm hook. Now I have to do a single crochet in the same stitch just to turn the corner, and single crochets. through both sides. The last stitch, cutting the yarn, pulling it through again. I'm gonna do an invisible join. What that means, I'm not gonna go in with my needle. Let's focus a bit. Yeah, I'm not gonna go in with my needle on the first stitch. I'm gonna go in to the second stitch. Hope you can see it. And now go back to where I came from the same stitch. And the stitch I've just made is overlaying the first one. Now I need to find a spot somewhere in where I'm gonna be dragging the starting tail as well. I'm just gonna do a knot. Oops. Pull it in so that the knot disappears, and now all I have to do is hide a bit these two end tails of the yarn, cut it, as you know from before, squish it a bit so that the filling kind of goes to all the places. And this is the crochet letter V done. Ta-da! I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to like. If you want to see more of me and be notified when I'm putting something out new, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, those notifications that you get, I hope you'll come back. So until the next time, I'm gonna say happy crafting!